Episode number 7 of painting an icon of St. Peter preaching at Pentecost. As I've said at the beginning of each of these episodes, this is a commission, a request of the editor of With Love to the World. And the editor would like a photo of a Pentecost icon for the Pentecost edition of the devotional periodical With Love to the World in 2021. So still quite a way to go. I've really ahead of time in preparing this icon, but the end is in sight. Is this the last episode? Because the saint is in place, the background is in place, the frame is in place, but the inscriptions are not in place. An icon needs an inscription to say what it is, so the inscription will be St. Peter and Pentecost, but also I have a scroll on which I have promised to put some text from Peter's sermon. And I also had this idea. I woke in the night and thought, in the story of Pentecost, one of the marvels, one of the miracles was that all the people from all corners of the world who were in Jerusalem at Pentecost marveled that they heard the apostles who spoke in Galilean, but they heard them in their own language. So I thought, what if I did some translations and put different languages into this icon? So that's what I've done. Let's see how it works. In the last episode, I had been struggling with the background, great plans for different designs that came seriously unstuck, and I went more simple and more simple with each revision and ended up with this very simple background. And then I was looking at it and I thought, too simple. It does need something more. And so while you weren't looking, I did this. And the design in the cross on the two sides, that flame design got the flames in, and top and bottom a sort of a crisscross, which I hope might remind people that Peter was a fisherman and that this is fishing net. Well, also some time ago I made an outline of the scroll onto tracing paper, and now I have written my text onto the tracing paper, so now it's time to transfer this onto. Before I started work on the panel, I needed to plan some more, to work out what all this lettering would look like on the panel. So there's the inscription, there's the scroll. I already decided on that, and that was already mapped out. That was okay, although I needed to check, what will it look like? Also, there was the issue of all those translations, 6 translations of the text, and how is it going to look? I wanted to have a clearer idea before I started painting all over this nice, clean icon. So I used PowerPoint. I took a photo of the icon and put it into PowerPoint, and then started making lettering and moving it around on the photo, changing colours and things like that. And the end result looks like this. So that, as you can see, the inscriptions are placed as I want them, with the colours that I want them. And I also decided that all the translations would be a kind of pavement on which the saint is standing. I'd thought of putting them, in little squares all over the panel, but in the end I think this is more pleasing and keeps the image more simple. Then they'd decided was that lettering, should it be dark on the lighter background, the grey background, or should it be light? And the end result was this darker rather than this lighter. Don't you think? Yeah, of course. So that's was the planning, and then having put all that in place, I went to the panel to do the lettering. Well, I think I have everything I need in place. I've got this to fit on there. I've got the tape ready, but before I do that I need to put some red ochre, dry red ochre pigment onto the back. So let's get everything over this side so we don't drop anything on the... I'm only going to put tape on one side so that I can lift it if necessary to see how it's going. Okay, I think I'll use the bridge. No, I won't. I will, because that'll put my hand too high. Look at that, that's beautiful. Oh, that's working really well, certainly on top of the titanium white. Now I want to use two different colours here. I want to use red, and maybe I'll do those first, and I'll use the Kolinsky brush, and I'm using a Kolinsky 1. Let's see how this goes. Do I want to use the bridge? Yes, I do. I think I use the 0 brush for the other. Now, this is a mixture of titanium grey and blue, but it needed Mars black as well. I don't want it jet black, and I found that until I put the Mars black in it, it was too blue. So I think this is going to work okay. Going to find out pretty soon. It's not a point. Now, this is an exercise that I haven't tried before in this form. I'm about to trace the 6 translations onto this panel, and in the little bowl I have mixed some grey titanium, added some blue, ultramarine blue, and then I needed to also add some Mars Black. So I've mixed that together and ground it with a pestle so that it's a dry mix. There's no liquid in this at all. It's a dry mix, which I'm now using kitchen paper to wipe on the back of my tracing paper. As I had previously photocopied or the text from a Word document onto this tracing paper and worked out how to place it. I have the margin on the right side of the panel will be the right margin, on the left side of the panel will be the left margin, so that the ragged edge will be towards the saint. And we've got the dry pigment in place. I just get rid of the the bits that are left over so that it doesn't make too much mess on the panel, hopefully. And now tape it in place. Now this time, rather than using a ballpoint pen, I'm using this stylus, and it has a harder, sharper edge to it. And starting with the Tongan language. Thank you to Sylvia for providing this translation from her Tongan Bible. This text is easy for me because it is a European text, such as English is written in, so that makes life easier, as is Indonesian, which is handy as well. More challenging, of course, will be the Asian characters. Just check to see if it's working, and yes, it is. Of course, this is running at 4 times normal speed. Now the Chinese characters are a bit more challenging. Thank you to Sunny Chen for providing this Chinese translation. And I guess apologies to my friend Ji Zhang, because Ji is a master calligrapher in Chinese, and compared with his beautiful work, this would be just plain embarrassing. And the Indonesian. Now for the Korean. Thank you to Hun-Yu for providing this translation. I've chosen 5 of these translations because they are the languages of congregations in the Uniting Church, of which there are quite a number across Australia. So Tongan congregations, Chinese speaking, and Indonesian, Korean, and Tamil. I'll explain the 6th one in a little while. But there are many other congregations in the Uniting Church that speak other languages, but I couldn't include them all, and these are some of the major ones. I'm now writing the text from Scripture in the Garawa language, one of the Aboriginal languages from the Northern Territory. And so as I write this, I pay my respects to the Garawa people, the elders past and emerging, and give thanks for this gift of their language to this project. And now for the Tamil scripture, and thank you to Dev for providing this text from the Tamil Bible. Now, as you saw from the other text, once I'd traced the text onto the page using this dry pigment method, I then painted over with pigment and egg tempera. This time I'm not. I'm hopeful that what I have done is to lay down, indeed to push the dry pigment into the coat underneath. And now I'm simply sealing that dry pigment in place by painting over the top with straight egg